Hello, everyone. Today we will explore one of the most influential distinctions in applied linguistics, which is the difference between language acquisition and language learning. This topic is central to understanding how second languages are developed and how we as educators can design effective teaching strategies. As for the introduction, in this session we will examine two fundamental concepts in second language acquisition, often abbreviated as SLA. These concepts help us understand how learners internalize a new language. Much of this framework is associated with the work of Stephen Krashen, whose theories have significantly shaped modern language teaching. What is language acquisition? Language acquisition refers to a subconscious process. It happens naturally without deliberate effort, much like how children acquire their first language. Learners are not focused on rules, but on meaning. They observe the language through exposure and interaction. Characteristics of acquisition. Acquisition occurs primarily through communication, in which learners are engaged in meaningful changes rather than studying grammar explicitly. So it requires exposure to language input and leads to the development of fluency. The emphasis is on understanding and conveying meaning. On the other hand, what is language learning? In contrast, language learning is a conscious process. It typically takes place in formal education settings, in which learners focus on grammar rules, structures, and explicit knowledge about the language. The whole process involves awareness and intentional study. As for the characteristics of learning, learning is rule-based and often involves controlled practice. Also, error correction plays an important role here. In fact, this process helps develop accuracy rather than fluency. And students learn how the language works, but not necessarily how to use it spontaneously. Addressing the key differences, we have to say that acquisition is subconscious, natural, and meaning-focused, leading to fluency. On the other hand, learning is conscious, formal, and form-focused, leading to accuracy. All in all, both processes serve different but complementary roles in language development. This leads us to Krashen's hypothesis. According to Krashen, acquisition is more important than learning. He argues that learning cannot transform into acquisition. Instead, learned knowledge functions as a monitor, helping learners check and correct their language output. As for the monitor hypothesis, it suggests that learned knowledge acts like an editor. It helps learners correct their speech, but only under certain conditions, when they have enough time, when they focus on form, and when they know the rules. In real-time communication, and this is often limited. For example, when a learner speaks naturally and fluently without thinking about rules, that is acquisition. However, when they stop to apply grammar rule consciously, they reflect learning. This distinction is crucial in understanding the learner behavior. A key concept in acquisition is comprehensible input, often expressed as I+1. This means learners should be exposed to language that is slightly above their current level. This type of input is essentially for natural language development. In the classroom, this theory suggests that we should provide meaningful input, encourage communication, and create opportunities for interaction. At the same time, we should balance fluency and accuracy to support both acquisition and learning. Of course, Krashen's theory has been criticized. This is normal. Some argue that it overemphasizes acquisition and underestimate the role of learning. Others point out that acquisition is difficult to measure scientifically. Many researchers believe that learning also plays a significant role. Today, most scholars adopt an integrated perspective. They combine cognitive approaches, which focus on mental processes, with the socio-cultural approaches, which emphasize interaction and context. Both acquisition and learning are seen as essential and interconnected. Now, I'd like to engage you in a short activity. Try to identify examples of acquisition and learning in real-life situations. Then, discuss which approach you think is more effective and why. By this activity, you will understand better acquisition and learning differences. As a conclusion, acquisition and learning are not opposing processes, but complementary ones. Both are necessary for effective language development. As educators, our goal is to create a balanced approach that integrates both. At the end, you can reflect on a few key questions. Here are they. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm always open to your questions and reflections.